Hi, welcome to Tabstract. This is episode 7, where I'm talking to Alison Jessop Lavelle. You'll have to excuse me today because I have got an eye injury. So I'm going to be, most of the time, I'm either going to be touching my eye, fiddling with my eye, or closing my eyes because I have a little bit of pain going on in my eye. So forgive me for that. Obviously, if you're just listening, you won't be able to see that. So that's good. Yeah, Alison is a homeopath, a Reiki master teacher, a certified emotional code practitioner, a certified body code practitioner, and a licensed sanomentologist and an aroma touch technique practitioner. So that's a bit of a mouthful, Alison. And
Yes.
I think the only one I know out of those, well, I know the Reiki master and the homeopath, but the others I don't know a lot about. So that's going to be really interesting to talk to you about that. I haven't actually met you in real life.
No.
I heard about you through a little thing in, is it Northampton?
No, we're in Lincolnshire.
Oh, Lincolnshire, yeah, called the Wild Orange. So I think about the time when I was starting my women's circles, I was doing a bit of research to see if there's anything in the area, and I stumbled upon the Wild Orange and read a little bit about it, and they sounded wonderful. So I think I contacted you, didn't I? And I said, can I come to one of your women's circles? And it didn't ever happen. And then obviously because of lockdown, they're not on anymore. So
No.
yeah, it all ground to a halt. But then when I was thinking of people to invite to do my podcast, you were one of the names that came up first on my list. So I'm glad that you've come on and
Thank you.
willing to talk to me. So do you want to introduce yourself and just say a little bit about what all these weird, wonderful words are?
Yes, yeah, gosh, it's all a bit confusing, but I'll try and explain it in the best way I can. So
Yeah.
I'm called Ali, so everybody calls me Ali. I gosh, how long have I been an energy healer? For 16 years now.
Wow.
So I started off with Reiki, and that was because I had a bit of pain in my neck from a car accident, and the job that I was doing at the time, I had to go and work in a drug and alcohol rehabilitation unit. And there was a Reiki therapist there, and he offered to do some Reiki on my neck. So we did just 10 minutes with his hand on my neck, and the next day I felt like, whoa, what's happened? Somebody's
Really?
like cleaned my brain out, and I've got all this energy, and I felt so good. Yeah, so this was 16 years ago. So I set about to learn about Reiki, but I just sort of looked to see where I could learn it. And then I lived in Hertfordshire at the time. The nearest place was in London. So I went and met a lady who had literally lived in an ashram in India. And she was, I mean, her lineage was so high to Dr. Usui, for anyone who knows about Reiki. And so I went to learn Reiki 1, and then about a year later I learned Reiki 2. And then it was a long time after that before I decided to return to healing on a permanent basis. I was working in a full-time job, and I was doing Reiki for friends and family. And then it was about 4 years ago that I gave up my job full-time to become a full-time therapist and healer. And so I was doing Reiki initially, and then I did my Reiki master teacher course. So I started teaching other people to be able to do Reiki.
Is it something that you just do, or is it something that you have to learn how to do, or is it like only certain people can do it, or
anybody can do it, but you have to be attuned to open your energy to receive the Reiki energy. So that as soon as you're attuned, you get 4 attunements on Reiki 1, and at the end of the 4th, after the first attunement, actually you're able to do the Reiki, but by the 4th one you learn how to do full body treatments and lots of other things. So so anybody
What's Reiki actually mean? What does the word mean?
Reiki is just energy, like, energy, life force. So it's all it's all to do with connecting with higher energy and channeling that down through, and it comes out through your hands, and you are just a channel. So and what's great about Reiki actually is if anybody does Reiki 1, you can actually heal yourself, you can heal your pets, you can heal your children. You don't have to be a Reiki practitioner when you're doing Reiki 1. You can't charge anybody for it, but you can do it whenever you want. And I tell you what, it's so great for like, if you were out and about in a situation and you felt you were unwell, or you had some pain, or you had an accident, or you suddenly got anxiety or something, those hands are on at all times. It never switches off. So the minute you connect your hands with the intention of sending the Reiki to where it or what it needs to do, it will just work. So it's
magic.
amazing. Yeah, it totally is. And, you know, some of my clients have been coming to me for many years, and I don't see them after, they'll have 2 or 3 sessions, and then I don't see them for a long time. And then suddenly, something will happen and they'll call me and say, you know, can I come? I don't do a lot of Reiki now, to be honest, though, because so it'd be coming up 2 years ago now, it was 3 years ago that I started to get very ill. I started to get these physical symptoms in my body, and I'd never ever had any physical illness really, apart from chicken pox and, you know, the usual stuff. I started to get pain in my body and all this sort of thing, and I just didn't know. And I was getting more and more, it was getting worse, and I was doing Reiki, and it wasn't really, it would help a little bit, but it was just getting worse and worse. So put a very long story short, after going for many medical tests, and I'm not really, you know, I do think there's a time and a place for doctors and conventional medicine. Absolutely there is. But I've always been somebody that, I did my diploma in homeopathy about 20 years ago, and I've always used homeopathy, essential oils,
tried everything else first,
healing, and then as a last resort, you know, if I think, or if I think there's something more sinister going on, of course I would go straight to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and basically I went for every test under the sun, like MRI scans, I had a brain scan, I had blood tests, I had everything going, and they diagnosed me with fibromyalgia. But I knew that it wasn't that, because I'm an intuitive healer, and I'm also a medium and a psychic. So I was asking my guides, is this right? Surely, I don't think it is. And they were telling me, no, it's not right. So
don't you think that seems to be, no disrespect to anybody who has actually got fibromyalgia, but don't you think that tends to be a sort of a one size fits all sort of thing that they pull out of the bag if they can't diagnose something else?
Yeah, it does tend to be used for that, and not for everybody, you know. At the end of the day, every physical illness is given a name in order for it to be put into a category of what needs to be dealt with. So and we'll talk about this later, about how energy healing works, is, you know, I don't deal with labels of illnesses at all. I deal with the symptoms and what's causing the symptoms. So I knew that there's no way I've got this. I was looking at what the symptoms should be, and they just didn't match up with what they were telling me. So anyway, eventually I found a kinesiologist. I don't know if you know much about kinesiology.
Yeah, I've had kinesiology twice actually in my life.
Yeah, so they muscle test. And I was told after just 2 sessions that I'd got mercury toxicity.
Oh, wow.
From my fillings in my mouth. So anyway, this is like a really long story cut very, very short, because this was a year after I started to get ill that I found out. Set about trying to sort out getting the fillings done and all this. It was a long
fortune, doesn't it, to try and get all those
get them done properly.
That's if you can get someone to do it for you as well.
Yeah, you can't go to a normal dentist to get them removed, you know. So anyway, I did all that, and then somebody told me, actually I had an acupuncturist come and to me for healing, and she said, oh, have you heard of emotion code? And I said, no, I never heard of it. So me being me, I'm always like, I go, right, I'm going to look into that. So Dr. Bradley Nelson, he's a chiropractor, he lives in America. And many years ago, I think it's probably about 11 years ago now, he discovered that when his patients were coming to see him to get physical misalignments sorted out, he'd be chatting to them, and what he realised was a lot of their issues seemed to be linked to emotions, how they were feeling emotionally. And so he decided that he was going to try and start releasing emotions from people whilst he was working. And he found that they would literally hobble in and then walk out.
Wow.
And so he set about to create the emotion code. And basically what the emotion code is when we are, even before we were born, you know, we've all had however many past lives.
Yeah.
We are not born as a new being into this world when we come into our physical body. And so we can have things, energies from the past that now get carried into this life. But also the minute we're born, even when we're in the mother's womb, if our mothers are feeling, say, anxiety, or if they're stressed or whatever, anything like that, we can absorb that emotion and it gets trapped in the body. And that's the same from the minute we're born. And not all emotions get trapped, because remember, we've got lots and lots of emotions, and we're feeling them all day, every day.
Yeah.
And even the things that we would consider bad emotions are not bad, really. They're just, we just think they're bad because they make us not feel great. But
all emotions are valid, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we don't tend to do is we ignore them. We just get on with things, and we don't sit and feel that emotion. We don't allow it to process. And if we're in a particularly vulnerable place, or if it's a particularly big thing that we've gone through, it gets stuck in our body. And then we start growing an onion.
Oh, right.
I call this the onion effect. And if somebody was to ask me, what do I do when I do emotion code, is I peel your onion, I strip it down, I peel away the layers. And so I've figured out, after doing emotion code on myself, I bought the book, read the book within a day, started doing emotion code on myself, and felt amazing. And within a month I was a practitioner.
Wow.
So it should take 6 months, but I just thought it was amazing. And because I've got a lot of clients anyway coming to see me for Reiki, I was saying to them, would you be open to swapping the Reiki today for something different? So I managed to whiz through that. And then the next bit was the body code. So again, Dr. Bradley Nelson then realized that not only is it emotions that can upset us, but physical things as well. And this is where the the code is like a body map. So it looks at different areas of how we live. So the first one being energy. So that will be things like our emotions, but also we can have dense. So talking about energy, if we imagine we can see it because we're all energy.
Yeah,
everything
that's all we are.
we're energy. Everything vibrates at a certain frequency. And the more dense frequencies are energies such as entities, saboteur energies, where somebody's tried to harm us, negativity, curses and things like that. That doesn't mean somebody sat with around a cauldron with a wand putting a curse on you.
Voodoo doll.
Yeah, it could just be that they've said something not very nice about you, to you, or even about you when you're not even there, because we absorb all that energy. And so that's the first bit of the body code. The next bit is the more physical. So if we had, say, a toxicity going on in our body, so it will pick up anything like mold, mercury, any heavy metals, excess of heavy metals, any parasites, any bacterial infections or anything like that. So
which
not
we've all
knowing
got, haven't we? We've all got, all out of that list, we can list a few of those that we've all got.
Yeah. And the thing is, often they don't manifest in us until a certain point, and eventually it's like the onion effect again. The layers grow, and eventually the onion can't grow any bigger. So what it does is it pops open, and there we have symptoms. So these can be then physical symptoms. So anything to do with toxicity. It will also look at nutritionally. Is there something that we're eating or drinking that is causing us to have symptoms, or are we lacking in something? So it can pick up whether we've got any lack of any nutritional like minerals, vitamins, things like that. And then it will also look to see whether our physical body is out of misalignment. So often the lumbar, the spine, the lumbar, the whole of the cervical spine, if one of the vertebrae is misaligned, often we get some emotions or other energies trapped in there, and that can cause pain. Now, when they're released from that area, the pain will just go. Because it's not actually often a physical thing anymore. I mean, it could be, and it might need to be resolved by an osteopath or a chiropractor.
Yeah.
But more often than not, I have people, again, hobbling into me with pain. Knee pain's very common. And knee pain, actually, the other thing is everything physically also has an emotional attachment. So often with things to do with the hips, the knees, or the legs, there's often an emotional thing that we're stuck, that we don't want to move forward. Because, you know, when we can't walk, we can't go forward, can we?
Yeah.
So everything has an emotional connection as well. So, for example, I'll try and explain it in a better way. Let's say somebody comes to a shoulder, so that's carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders.
Oh my goodness.
Too much going on in your life.
That would be about right.
Too much responsibility, having to carry the weight of everybody else. Often it's because the people have got like so many caring responsibilities. They're often carers or mums or dads, and you've got to try and juggle everything. So everything has a connection, and it might be that you've had at some point some physical trauma to that shoulder. What's happened is after that, all the emotions and the energies, because that is weak, that area, they're going to stick in there, and they're going to stick, and you can't get them out. So how I work, and the great thing about it, that's probably the best bit, which a lot of people like, because when people come to me, they've often talked about their issue so much, especially with emotional things. I have people come and they've had counselling, and they've tried CBT, and they've tried this and they've tried that, and they're just sick of it. They don't want to talk about it anymore. They've just please help me. And so I do connect to their unconscious mind using telepathy.
Oh wow, that's a bit like kinesiology as well, isn't it?
It's the same, yeah, it is really. I mean, we're just using a different sort of way, and it's a different method really. Just going to grab a drink. So what happens is I connect with the unconscious mind. I then would ask, what is causing Tabitha to have this shoulder pain in her right shoulder? And I then go into the map, the body map, and it will say, for example, I don't know, there was a physical trauma, and I'll ask, what age was it? Age 6. You fell off your bike when you were 6. So although at that point in time you might think that you've recovered from it now, because you can't even remember falling off your bike at age 6, you know, you actually still have some trauma sitting in that shoulder. But then what happens is I'll ask, can we release it? And it'll often say, no, you can't. So I say, why? What do we need to release? And then it'll take me into, well, the emotion at the time was that you felt fear, or you know, you felt panic, and that panic's now stuck in that shoulder. And we need to, so I'll start releasing, and it's like layers. We just go deeper. There might be some energy cords. So energy cords are literally like what you would think as a piece of a metal chain, really. They can be stuck in places, and they can be attached to other people, and they can be very detrimental, particularly around relationships. So people often that have had any sort of abuse often have energy cords attached to them, and they can never break free from their abuser because they're still energetically chained to them. So what I do is I release the chains from them, and then they are free.
Wow.
And I just did this with a lady about 2 weeks ago, who had been sexually abused as a young child, and she has had many issues over her life, and thought she was doing quite well, but things were starting to creep up on her. And we did a session, and she didn't actually tell me that at the beginning of the session. She didn't even want me to know. But because I came up with all these different things that happened at the exact age that this happened, at the end she felt so much better, and she told me then what had happened. And so it gave her the strength to finally say, God, you know, I can talk about this without, and she said, I don't feel any emotion about it anymore.
Wow.
So
It'd be lovely, wouldn't it, to be, I mean, the things that we do hold, you know, you know, those things that we don't like to talk about because they're too emotional. It would be lovely to be able to talk freely about those, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and the good thing about this is you don't have to even then afterwards. You don't have to
No,
if you don't want to, because
no,
you
but
know.
I mean, to you know, just to even just to your relatives who know about it, it would be nice to kind of just be like, yeah, let's talk about this without, you know, but then I suppose you'd all have to have it as well in order to talk about it without any, you know, emotion,
Yeah,
not any emotion, because you don't want to be emotionless, but, you know, for it not to be quite so painful would be nice, wouldn't it?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so and I've worked with people with all sorts of physical and emotional issues with body code, and you
Mm.
know, some people need one session and others need, like, I've got a lady in America that she sees me twice a week and has done
Wow.
for many months. But the thing is, she's got like, um hers is very, it's hidden under lots of layers, and
Yeah.
she feels better after every time after I do a session.
No. You
um
obviously do that over the, like this, over Zoom.
yeah, so most all my
You
clients at
don't
the
fly
moment,
over every time.
yeah, no, I mean, I've got clients all over the world, and
Mm.
none of them, some of them I don't even know what they look like.
Oh,
I had
wow.
a guy in America who had COVID in March when it first all came about. And he was referred to me by another lady who I was healing, and I didn't ever get. It was only afterwards he sent me a video testimonial.
Oh,
I didn't know what he looked like. I knew he was a man. We'd done everything
wow.
over email, so
Oh,
he didn't want
wow.
to do the Zoom thing. He
Yeah.
just said, "You just get on with what you need to do, and let me know what came up afterwards." And
Wow.
within 3 sessions he was healed, and he was back in the gym and back to his normal life. So
Gosh,
yeah,
that's
and
my dream.
I'm not claiming to cure anybody here. I just want to make that point.
Oh,
What I can do though is I can help to relieve symptoms. And
yes.
you know, symptoms are a message that something's not right and something needs to be released or removed.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so when you
Shall I tell you
release,
about my experience with the kinesiology?
yeah, I'd love to hear. Yeah.
So I met a really nice, it was back in, well, good, probably about 5 years ago. Yeah. And yes, oh no, I know exactly how long ago it was. It was about 5.5 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, it doesn't really matter. So I was still in the police at that time, and I went to a job in a little tiny little hamlet, and went to see this lady, and she invited me in, and it was a neighbourhood issue. And we sat in front of her Aga, and she made me a cup of tea, and she was just the most lovely lady. And we got talking about crystals and things like that, and she was saying that she does some sort of crystal healing and that sort of thing. But she said, oh, I know who you need to talk to, because I was sort of saying a little bit about, I wasn't really telling her much about, you know, I was obviously in uniform still, so we were just talking. She must have picked up something. She said, you need to speak to my friend whoever, and I don't know this other lady's name. So she gave me the name of this lady who does kinesiology, and within a couple of weeks, I think I'd booked up to go and see her. And she was like, out. I went one evening, and it was like in the dark, like a real dark place, and I like managed to find it. It was raining. It was really not a good, you know, experience so far. And then I went in, and obviously I had this lovely experience with the lady with the crystals. And then, you know, when you sometimes meet someone and you don't feel like a warmth from them, or your energies just don't match.
Yeah, connect.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
how I felt with her, and it was so expensive, and
Oh,
I was so desperate for it to work, and I was like so eager for something to happen with it, and
yeah,
and it was just, it all felt really skew-iff, really off center. Couldn't quite put my finger on what was going on, but anyway, I went through with it. Never didn't really know what kinesiology is, and anyway, so went through this thing, and she said, if anything comes up, you know, just say it. And I was like, yeah, okay, you know, and we went through, obviously did the whole process, what it is, and it's all quite not subliminal, subconscious level, isn't it? So you don't really know what's going on. And obviously I was completely new to it, hadn't even read, didn't really know what I was going for. So I was quite brave to kind of go for this experience. And this thing popped up that she said, you know, if anything pops up, just say it. And I was like, okay, something's just popped up, but I don't want to say it. And she was like, okay, just say it. And I was like, but I don't want to. I don't want to mislead you because it's completely irrelevant, completely untrue, and completely, you know, I don't know where it's come from. I just think it's my mind's playing tricks on me.
Oh.
And she was like, but just say it anyway. And I was like, okay, I'll say it. It took quite a lot for me to actually say it because I was so adamant that I didn't want to say it because I didn't agree with it. And what it was, so I said, what it's telling me to say is I still love my ex-husband. And at this point I'd been separated and divorced from him probably about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And anyway, so that was that. And she was like, okay, well, and I don't really remember what was said after it. But I did sort of apologize for saying it because I was like, you know, I don't still love him and I don't want to be with him. I don't know why my mind's made me say that, but you know, it's what it, it was like a bubble. It had to come out.
Yeah.
And do you know what? That was, I think it was about 3 months later, he was killed in a motorbike accident.
Oh wow, gosh.
So I think, and to this day, I think that was from someone trying to tell me that if there's anything you want to say to him, you need to say it. And I didn't. I just ignored it. I mean, I'm a lot more spiritual now, and I'm a lot more aware of the higher powers and the higher energies and that sort of thing. And I just think, what a wasted opportunity, because I could have, if I'd have listened to it, I could have gone to him and just said all the things that I wanted to say and all the things I wish I'd have said and all the things now, you know, that bug me on a day-to-day basis that I wish I'd have said and didn't. And I was just like, as if they were trying to tell me, and I ignored it. So I think that was like, if anything else, it's a little lesson for me to say, don't ignore things. You know, if things come to you, then don't ignore them, you know.
Absolutely.
But how powerful is that?
Yeah, everything's within us. So, you know, it's just that a lot of people, we all find our own way to this place. Some never find it in this life anyway. Takes a lot of reincarnation we learn all the lessons, and then we get to the place where we start to connect with the higher, you know, energies and beings and spirits, and you know, the divine, well, some people call it God, but whatever you want to call it. And it takes a long time to get to that point for many, but the sooner you can do that, the better, really, I think, because you can, there's a lot of stuff you can do when you tap into that. It's all within us.
So what is our eventual aim then? Where are we going? What, I don't, because I get this bit where we're sort of trying to attune to different to the energy and the higher power, but you know, how do we know when we're finally there?
Well, we won't know, will we? Because we won't be. It'll be a different time and place. But yeah, most of us will just keep reincarnating until I believe that we eventually reach this infinity place. But I'm not sure I'm near it yet. I don't think so. No. I think there's a bit of a long way to go. But anyway.
So is that what the point of life is then? Is just you keep going along this thing, being reincarnated until you get to this heaven-like place, is it?
Yeah, and it's you know, it's a good thing, isn't it, to know that we still carry on and that our soul never dies when our physical body dies. We never disappear, really. And I think that a lot of people that you know, it's very difficult losing people, and grief's one of the most difficult things to actually heal when I work with people. But I do help people with grief, overcome grief. Not fully, because you don't want to anyway, because you always want to feel sad about somebody's death in their physical body. But the more you can understand, because when I'm working, often I get spirits come into sessions and it'll be a loved one that's passed, you know, that want to help with the session. So what happens then is that I have to stop working and doing what I'm doing, because they won't let me carry on. And they start sending messages through. So I just relay the message. I ask the person first. No, I've got a spirit here, wants to.
Is there anyone for me?
Well, you never know, there might be. Usually when I'm healing, because I'm connected to your unconscious mind then, but they can come when I'm just chatting to people as well. But yeah,
we all expected to be, you know, because he always said to me, if I die first, I'll definitely make contact with you, and he hasn't, so I'm feel a bit let down. Well, he has in a way. I won't go into that, but I was trying to stick on the subject. So where does Sanomentology come into it?
So
what even is that?
Yeah, well, I was doing body code for a good few months, and what I realised was that it's absolutely brilliant for releasing things from the body and the mind. But what it didn't do was deal with these long-term habitual patterns, beliefs. A lot of our beliefs, unfortunately, are negative ones that have been like printed into our brain at a very young age as a child, and I thought to myself, something more that I need in order to be able to offer everything.
A holistic approach.
So I just asked, this is what happens with me, I asked my guides, please send me what is it that I need to do here. And within about a week, I just happened to see somebody post a comment in the Body Code Practitioners Facebook page saying that they'd got this client with this long-term belief thing or blah, 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 or an addiction or something. And that, what's the best way to deal with it using Body Code? And one of the other practitioners said, oh, I would use Sanomentology to do that. Well, that was it for me. Again, I was
buzzword. You were like, what's that?
That's what they've been sending me. So I went and looked it up, and I filled out the little form on the website, where you're just looking for more information. And within 2 minutes, a guy called Martin Rothery rang me, and he said, is that Alison? I said, yes. He said, you asked about Sanomentology on the website. I said, blimey, that was quick. and to me, that's a sign. That is my guide saying, this is meant to be, this is it.
Definitely.
So we had a little chat, and again, me being me, I knew it was the right thing. So I decided to subscribe to the course. And it was a 3-week course every day for 3 weeks. So Sanomentology, Martin Rothery created Sanomentology. It's the Latin for sano, meaning make, whole and restore. Mente is of the mind, and ology is the study of. So basically Martin worked as a hypnotherapist for a number of years, but then he realized that there was a lot more that could be done working in the unconscious mind, and particularly in the dream state. So the dream state is that bit where we're not awake. It's like, when to go into meditation and you are at that bit where you're not asleep, but you're in a very deep state of relaxation. That bit there, and it's really in the unconscious.
I do struggle to get there, but I'm very easily distracted, and also don't have a lot of time to do that, if you know what I mean. So but I do know, I have heard of people speaking of this place.
It's blissful when you reach it. It's like it's pure bliss, and anybody can reach it. And actually, how you do it, by the way, is you just have to meditate more. You have to meditate every day, and that's what I do, is meditate every day, and I can pretty much reach that place pretty quickly now. But it was not a quick thing for me. So
do you or is it just your mind, you clear your mind? Because I know that gets you there quicker, doesn't it?
No, I don't. I just listen to guided meditations. I just listen to guided meditations because I found it hard to switch the mind off the thinking brain, and and so I just listen to you know, I've got I use Insight Timer. It's an app, and there's
Oh,
like
yeah.
thousands of meditations on there. But the key to it is to do it every single day,
Yeah.
even if it's only 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night. It's, you know, so anyway, going back to Martin, and he said, you know, come on the course. And what I didn't realise was that it was when he said it was intense, I didn't realise
How
that
intense.
there was all these protocols, and when you learn Sanomentology to become a practitioner, you actually have every protocol done on you.
Oh, wow.
And I had
So
every
your head's been put in the washing machine and
but and I'm telling you, after 3 weeks of having them every day, one after the other, he's changed it now. He teaches on on the basis where you do one day a week for 8 weeks or something. Because when he started it, he only had about 3 protocols. One was for rapid pain elimination, which is where basically you get somebody in a relaxed state, and then you talk to the unconscious mind and you tell them that, you know, you say to the mind, because at the end of the day, pain as well is, again, just a message to tell us that there's something that needs attention. And once we've had that, you know, we would always ask clients, have you been to see a doctor, and have you had a diagnosis, you know, have you had it checked out? Because it could be a pain of something that needs treatment.
Yeah.
But if it's a pain that's, you know, like for me, I had a frozen shoulder with it was all to do with mercury stuck in my shoulder. And I'd been through all the tests. I knew that there was nothing, you know, that could be done about that. So I knew that I could safely have, and also the unconscious mind won't let you eliminate any pain if it needs medical attention. It just won't allow you to do it. So there was rapid pain elimination therapy, and then there was the PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, and the addictions, and then weight loss, I think, as well. Wow. So but now
all of that.
He's added, this
Tick
is
all the boxes.
This is the Bible.
Goodness.
Yeah, there's
hold that up again.
You get this when you become a practitioner.
Wow.
And it's got all the protocols in there. So basically, I did the training, and whoa, I mean, literally, I have had no pain now, like, at all. And my mind is so much stronger, because there's there's a protocol called the Full Resolute Pact. And what this does is it takes you into your unfinished business center in your mind.
Wow.
And it deals with any business that has not been resolved.
God, if you did that on me, I'd be there for 6 weeks non-stop. I wouldn't come out of it.
Well, so what happens is we take you into a very deep state of relaxation, and then we talk to your unconscious mind and ask it to take you into your unfinished business center. And that will be resembled by a door with a light above, and the light is on. So we take you into that room, and whatever it is in there, and you don't always know what it is that's in there. And even when you get in there, even if it was a trauma of, let's say an abuse of some kind, you won't have to relive that moment. This is what I love about Sanomentology, is your mind creates an analogy to be able to deal with it, so you don't have to go through the trauma again.
Just to go on to something, hold that thought, I'll just interject this because it is relevant. I did have some talking therapy about a situation that I was in. I without going into too much detail, but it was a very traumatic experience, and I had to see my work. Actually, when I was in the police, they made me go or suggested that I should go for some counselling, and which I did. And whilst I was sitting talking to the doctor, he was I think he was a psychiatrist. His glasses became butterflies and just completely distracted me. I have
Oh, wow.
Real, because when I, at the situation, and it's happening now, at the situation when it happened, I suffered from brain damage, and
Right.
I suffered from I got a stutter.
Right.
So
Okay.
now when I even try to talk about it, I then start
Right.
to stutter.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like you would benefit from the PTSD protocol, because
Yeah.
it's a four-week protocol, so 4 sessions a week apart from each other.
Mm.
The first session is where I say to the unconscious mind that this trauma, it's finished now, it's done with, it doesn't need to be.
Isn't it weird though that I know that it doesn't bother me now. It's not something I feel trauma from. It's not something that I don't feel I haven't dealt with. But
No.
every time, well, no, I don't talk about it because I don't feel it's relevant. I really don't. And that's not me saying, I've buried it, but I don't know. But isn't it weird how your mind tries to distract you from it? So by making the doctor's glasses into butterflies, it's like, oh, pretty butterflies, don't have to think about what I was going to go and think about. And also, oh, let's distract you with a stutter.
Yes.
Why does that happen? That's a physiological response, isn't it?
Yeah, because your mind has attached yourself to that, and every time you think of that, it's like, it's the same as an addiction in some ways. When you have that drink or that cigarette, your mind says, oh, this is a reward, and it starts releasing chemicals that says, oh, this is making me feel better. But how long does that moment last?
Yeah.
It's just like the mind connects to these things, and that's how. And I've had people come to me and they say, oh, I've been to ayahuasca and I've sorted all my stuff out, but I was so intrigued by what you do, I thought I'd come and see you. And what comes up is exactly what they went and apparently had to dealt with in ayahuasca. So they didn't need to go and poison themselves and purge, and because at the end of the day, it was still stuck in that mind, you see. And that's where Sanomentology differs to body code, and that's why I love using both, because we need to release the energy of what's happened, but then the mind needs to be it's like cleaning the mind out, really. And it's cutting off those blueprints that have been really embedded deep within the unconscious mind, and it's retraining the brain to not react to the things like that anymore. So when we do the Resolute Pact, all those, for example, I had a lady who worked in the ambulance service over many years, and she'd seen a lot of traumatic things, road accidents and all sorts. And when I took her into her first room, she turned all of those traumas from all of those years into one thing in that, and we dealt with them in that room. And she came out of the room, and what we do is we lock the door and the light goes off, and you don't ever have to go back in there ever again. You'll still have the memory of what happened, but you haven't got that, you won't have the same response to it, because it's been dealt with and it's finished and done with. So that's how we deal with addictions and PTSD. The protocols are slightly different, but they are very effective. And the weight loss is slightly different. That's about a lot of that is about forming habits, things that we reach for. Again, it is a bit like addictions, food, really, but it's about also self-worth, self-value. How do we see ourselves? And often when we're not happy with how we feel, we just keep eating the wrong foods and things like that. So
so for example, like a heavy situation with PTSD, would you deal with that in one session? Or because you say that the door's closed, is that what do you do in between sessions? Do you leave the door ajar, or
No. So what happens is that one event will be in one room, it will be in there, but like in each, when I do the Resolute Pact, it takes 3 sessions. The first session we go in and we just do the unfinished business centre, and we often go into mostly 4 or 5 rooms for most people, and there'll be different things that have happened over their life. These are the bigger things, not the little things. And then what I do is I leave it a week, and then we revisit that again, because often the unconscious mind can say, oh, actually there was a bit more that I need to do, but that was, you know, sometimes they just need a bit more. So we go back into that unfinished business centre, and they'll often have 1 or 2 more rooms to visit. And then within that session, I do the next protocol, which is called the Schrödinger protocol. And that is where it mops up all the little bits that have happened over life. You know, the little, not the major things, just the little things that have happened over life. That kind of mops them all up.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, we do a pact. That's why it's called the Resolute Pact. So we make a pact between the conscious and the unconscious mind, that the conscious mind is going to only respond to things in a way that are going to keep us safe. We're not going to respond to things that happened in the past anymore, because they've been dealt with. And that we're gonna sort of trust the unconscious mind more to lead. So, you know, when you talked about your intuition earlier, and you said, oh, you know, sometimes you feel that's something, you know, like you said about that message that you got, oh, I still love him. That kind of forms part of your intuition. And sometimes you need to act on your intuition, because and I do always, usually now, because most of the time it's right, because what's in your mind actually is, your mind's a computer system, and it holds every piece of information that you have about you from day dot to day, whenever, you know. So we can access that information, and that's where our gut feeling comes from. And
is it ever wrong?
In the mind. Sometimes we'll do things and it doesn't seem like it's the right thing, but sometimes we needed to learn that lesson. So sometimes you'll think, oh, well, I followed my intuition, that didn't work out well, but actually you needed to learn that. So,
if you go off the path, normally it's because there's something off path that you need to learn, isn't there?
Yes, definitely, So so that's Sanomentology. So I do that. I depends on when people first come to me, they talk about what they'll just say what it is, like, oh, I've got a physical thing, or I've got anxiety, depression, or you know, anything that they need. I only need to know what the thing is that they want resolved. They don't need to tell me why it's happened. They don't need to tell me when it started. They don't need to tell me anything at all. They just need to tell me, what is it that you want to be?
A little pointer in the right direction of what you know, what's made them come through your door that day.
And I believe people come to me when the time's right.
A
lot of people come to me and then they say, oh, do you sell gift vouchers? No, I don't. I'm sorry. That's because every healing journey has to be decided upon by the person themselves.
You wouldn't want something forced on you like that.
No matter how much you want to heal others and you want others to heal, can't be. You can point people in the direction of healing, but you can never force somebody to go through with anything. And sometimes people will have a chat with me and I'll offer them a 15-minute free consultation to say what I do. Some people can't get their head around how it works.
I bet that's a hard one.
When they live on the other side of the world and they're like, well, you don't even know me, you don't know what I look like, you don't know anything about me, how on earth can this work? That is, you can just give it a try, and if you don't feel any different by the end of it, then fine. But you know, it's and I've never had anybody at the end say I have nothing changed. No, not one single person. And I don't, you know, I don't think that it's for everybody though. It's, you know, it's when the time is right.
I think you'll stumble upon it, like you say, you'll stumble upon it for the right reasons, won't you? It's not something sort of, you know, I mean, it'd be interesting that, like, you know, there could be 100 people watch this or listen to this podcast, and there'll probably be a handful of people that will be like, that's exactly what I need, and that'll be, you know, they'll be the ones that will need it, sort of thing. It wouldn't be for everybody, would it?
No. And a testament to it as well is that I don't really advertise. I've got a website, but I never post anything out about what I do. I just my diary's full, and it's all through one person telling another, telling another, telling another. And I think,
people
well,
just finding you somehow.
Yeah, it wouldn't work that way if it didn't work and it didn't help people, then I'd be sitting at home twiddling my thumbs. But I'm definitely not doing that. So which is great. I love seeing the difference that it makes to people's lives, especially people that have suffered with chronic mental health problems for many years.
I bet it's very rewarding, isn't it?
Seeing the difference, seeing people starting to make changes in their life. So I've worked a lot recently with a lot of women with domestic abuse, and they've never been able to feel strong enough to get out of their situation because they just have, it's very difficult for and men as well. I'm not just saying it only happens to women. It does happen to men as well, but I tend to get a lot of women come my way. And when I've worked with them for a few weeks, they seem to just find that inner strength. And they know then after, actually, you know what? I don't need to put up with this anymore.
Maybe they're just being heard, aren't they?
Yeah,
I think that's very important, to be heard, to just feel that your voice is being heard and that you're being acknowledged.
Yeah. And I always think when people come, they just sometimes they want to just sit and talk and say what's going on, and just to have somebody to listen, to properly listen, because I just think that we can talk to family and friends, and but I don't know,
I just don't think you want to burden people. I wouldn't want to be a bore about it, and I wouldn't want people to kind of think, oh, here she goes again, going on about it. I just think there's a time and a place. And I think that you have to talk to the right person.
Yeah, an acknowledgement that it is shit, and that's how you feel. We're not, there's no way around it. You can't deny how somebody else is feeling. That's how they're feeling at that time.
Yeah.
Everybody who comes to see me, always, unless they don't want to, I always give them a hug.
Oh.
You want to have a hug? And most people
lovely.
say yes. And I just think, I don't think, okay, you can say as a therapist, oh, that's not professional. Well, I'm sorry, but in this world,
you're human first.
We need a bit of TLC.
Yeah.
That, to me,
I bet that means a lot.
Give somebody a little bit of wow, then that's what I'm going to do. I won't get struck off, or I'm not abusing anybody. And and if they're not, because there's certain people that I can read body language now as well, and I know the people that I can say, do you want to have a hug? And the ones that I know don't want to. But I often have people say to me at the end of the session, I just want to give you a hug, and I say, come on then.
We've lost that. I mean, even more now at the moment, we can't even touch each other, let alone hug, can we? So, but that is
hopefully we'll get that back again. And
but it's good that you've got that human level of that real sort of that means so much.
Well, I've been there, and I've been on the other seat. I've been through enough counselling and all sorts of things in my life to experience, and I don't ever want anyone to feel like I'm treating them like a case.
No.
Every single person that comes to me is a special person.
Oh, that's lovely.
And that for me is the most important part of my job, is letting people know that whatever you've been through, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to judge you.
No. But they're trusting you, aren't they, with their minds as well, and their bodies. They're trusting you with that. So that has to have some sort of there's a bond there, isn't there?
Yeah. And it's amazing when, people come and they just don't want to talk, and then afterwards they just pour it all out, but they do it without all that terrible, heavy emotion.
Yes.
You don't release that from them, and they don't feel that way anymore.
You've got the best job in the world, Alison.
Haven't I? Aren't I? Look it. I'm so grateful, and I say thank you every day for it, because and there's never a day goes by where 2 days are the same. Every day's different.
I bet. Meeting all these different people with so many different stories to tell, and
and I do work with children as well, but not so much. But body code's great for kids, because they don't have to. I think there's quite a stigma around children having therapies to a certain point. You know, that the parents don't want to go down that route, because then it means that there's something wrong with their kid. You know, and actually, when we're working with when I work with children with anxiety and things like that, I'll often say to the parent or parents that they need some help first before the children, because often the children are picking up on their carers' emotions. And that's, you know, that's not I don't mean to say that all the parents have got major issues, but usually there's something that the parents need resolving.
I think sometimes it's easy to think you're hiding things from your children, but you're not. They're very perceptive, aren't they?
Yeah, and they, you know, energy you know, we are constantly giving out energy. Or, you know, a lot of people say, oh, about auras. You know, it's not just about our aura, it's about all our emotions. They vibrate, and that is being sent out constantly. So if we're in a state of anxiety constantly, our children, our animals pick up on it. I mean, I work with animals, not much, but I do a bit. If somebody approaches me and said, oh, can you work on my dog or my cat or whatever, I will do. But the animals pick up on it like that. They know when there's something wrong. And
they do. My 2-year-old is very perceptive, and she'll say to me, you know, I'm just like, normally when I'm bathing her, she'll say to me, are you not happy, mummy? And I'm like, no, that's just my resting bitch face. I'm like, I can't smile all the time, but she's very always looking at my face to see if I'm smiling, and you know, she goes, she goes about her business, but you know, occasionally she'll look up at me and be like, I'm not happy, mummy. And I'm like, no, it's just my resting face. So how do you deal with any negative emotions? I mean, I've written that down, but I don't think I really need to ask. Well, I will ask it, but I'm guessing that you're just, you use your own Reiki on yourself and kind of meditate, or I'll let you answer.
Do you mean for my negative emotions, or from what I get from other people? Because obviously I'm constantly working with
both, really. I mean, obviously we all have negative emotions. How do you kind of, if you're going in for a session and you're feeling a bit negative, how do you get yourself out of that or deal with that? And then also, what about the negative energy you might pick up from other people?
Right, so my own emotions, if I'm feeling a bit down or a bit low, the first thing that I'd say to anybody is feel that emotion. Just stop, take a minute, take a breath and feel it. Even if it's anger, people say, oh, I'm not allowed to feel angry. That often comes as well from when we're children. If we express our anger and our parents constantly tell us off whenever we express our emotions, and that happens with crying as well. You know, we're told, like, stop crying, what are you crying for, you big sissy, or something like that. You know, so this is why we don't feel these emotions, and it takes a real good way of practicing to, and I'm not perfect, don't, you know, get me wrong, but you know, we're all human. We all go through these things. I have days when I just can't face the world and I just have a down day, and I just need to have a down day. So I go and have a down day, and I don't push myself. I don't, you know, if I'm working then and I've got clients booked in, I'll try and just, even if I can just sit for 5 minutes and just listen to what's going on in my mind, just try and breathe, and just, you know, allow that emotion to be felt and processed. And then usually after that, like, I'm okay again, you know.
Do you ever do shadowing? Have you heard of shadowing?
No.
That's basically, I guess it's another word for self-talk. So it's like, so what's the matter? I'm feeling negative. Why are you feeling negative? Because somebody said something on Facebook that I didn't like. Why did someone say something on Facebook? That sort of process that you shadow your emotions. and yourself.
Yeah, and again, that's acknowledging what's going on, and that's the thing that we must do, is acknowledge how we are, how we're feeling, what thoughts are, and let them just process. So
yeah, I mean,
so yeah.
I do I don't but I do with my boys. I say boys, they're men now, but with them, there is a big thing about, not feeling anger or not feeling this and not feeling that. And I have always said to them about crying and that as well. I'm always like, have a cry, for goodness sake, go and have a cry, because it's powerful stuff. And even today, my son who lives with me, he's 22, and he was sort of shuddering because we were talking about stuff, old memories, or not that old memories, but memories and stuff. And it was about how he'd spoken to a girlfriend, and he shuddered because he was like, oh, I can't believe I even spoke to her like that. And I was like, so you're probably feeling guilty, or what is this emotion, and I was like, just feel it, don't kind of try and push it away, just feel it. There's nothing, we're made up of all these different emotions, and I don't, I think he's in a state of fear. So he fears a lot of feelings. Like, oh, I don't want to feel like this. I don't, because I think a lot of them mimic his grief and loss. It's all comes from grief and loss. So anything that's close to that gets a little bit close to the fire. So he pushes it away. And it's a big task to get them all to kind of to face it and to deal with it. They're very, like I've said to you before, they've all got PTSD. So, but just little steps like that. I just think, just feel it. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah. Oh, it's so sad, isn't it? I mean, they must.
So how do you actually switch off of an evening if you've had a heavy day? How do you relax and switch off?
Okay, so when I finish working at the end of the day, I do a little ceremony of clearing. Not that I don't absorb energies from other people, because I protect myself before I start working. But obviously still, in your mind, you think about, wow, gosh, this happened today, or that happened today. So yeah, I just try. It's kind of become a bit of an art form, I suppose, where you just. What helps me actually is that I've got an office away from the home.
Yes, I bet.
My therapy room's not in the home. So when I lock my door, when I leave there at night, that is my day finished, and that's it. So I think that's a good mental sort of cut off from.
Yeah, definitely. Like you say, not bringing it into your home if you possibly can.
Yeah. There's the odd time when I work from home, if there's something happening at home and I can't get to the office at the moment with the lockdown and all that sort of going on. But generally I tend to shut the door, and I make a conscious thing that this is the end of my day now. And I guess I get home, and then there's never time to think about it, because there's cooking the dinner and sorting the kids out, and then we might watch a bit of TV or whatever.
I didn't ask you actually, what children have you got?
I've got a boy who is 17, and he's Jamie, and he's a dancer. And Kitty is 10, and she's still at primary school, but she's just about to start secondary this year in September.
Oh wow.
She's on that verge of change, when they switch into secondary school kids.
Young lady.
Children, which I'm not really looking forward to, because I'm not going to have any more children now. So
no.
So it's always busy at home. We've got a dog and 2 rabbits, 2 fish, so there's always like something to do. And then always at night when I go to bed, I always listen to a meditation. That just helps me to, I guess that does clear the mind as well, but more unconscious mind, and it helps to relax, and lets me have a good night's sleep. So it's not very often. I occasionally get woken up in the night by spirit, and it's a really strange thing that happens. They knock on a door, but like there's nobody knocking on a door. Like
really?
It's like a real loud, as if someone's knocking on a wooden door.
Wow.
Knock, 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 and I wake up and I think, oh, it's not there. But
do you live in an old house then, or it's nothing to do with an old house, is it?
It's often to do with, it can be to do with people that I've had contact with that day. It can be people that I'm going to have contact with in the next week.
Okay. Well, so hopefully you'll get a little knock tonight then, and it'll be a message for me.
It might well be a message.
So have you always had this skill, or is it something you asked for?
No, I think I've always had it. I didn't realise when I was a child. I used to have these like reoccurring dreams.
What was that?
That was the dog. Did you think that was a knock on the door?
That's hilarious. I'm sitting here thinking I'd love that to be I'd love to be able to talk to spirits, and then that happens and I'm like, right, scaredy cat.
Yeah, it's never scary. It never is. They always only have good intentions, and they always send really bizarre messages. They're always a bit cryptic. There's always something that's a bit like, what does that mean? But it usually means something. And if they don't know what it means now, then it'll come to them later on. But often I'll say, oh, they're sending me, they're showing me this, and it will they'll say, and that's how they know that it's their loved one, because they know that you would never know that in a million years. So,
I went to a festival once and had a tarot card reading, and the message they said to me, my boyfriend who I'm with now, he's the father of the girls, he was with me at the same time, and he thought it meant him, but because the lady said, you've got a monkey on your shoulder, weirdly, because I've now got the shoulder pain, that's only just occurred to me, you've got a monkey on your shoulder that you can't shift, you can't get rid of, and what is that, or what is that? And I was like, I don't know, I don't feel any oppression from anything, I don't feel that. Benson was like the whole time was like, it's me, isn't it? It's me, I'm bringing you down, I drag you down. I'm like, no, I want to be with you, and I wouldn't be with you if I didn't want to be with you. But he still refers to it now and says, oh, I'm the monkey on your shoulder, aren't I? And I'm like, no, you're not. But that's weird that I now have shoulder pain, going back to the beginning of the conversation.
So it's a bit of a strange one, and but it never worries me, it never scares me. It's quite comforting in some ways, because I think, well, there is life after death. I know that the soul never dies. If that was the case, then there's no way I'd be receiving these messages and these.
No. It's either that or you're mad.
That,
But it can't be. That's not a good explanation, because if you were just mad, then these messages wouldn't mean anything, would they?
Yeah, and they're very specific. Like they can be really, really specific sometimes, and like, and I can describe somebody, like a friend of mine years ago. I said, oh, you've got a man, he's sitting with his legs crossed and he's smoking a cigarette. I said, and he smokes a lot. I said, and his name's Leonard or something like that. And she said, oh, I don't know who it is. She said, oh, it might be my granddad, but I never met him, or I was only a baby, I won't remember whether he smoked or whatever. And it was only last week that she said to me, oh, do you remember all those years ago when you told me about that man? She said, it turns out he was my granddad.
Oh, wow.
And he did smoke like a trooper.
Wow.
And his name was Leonard.
That must be great though, when you do get a positive like that,
Yeah. Well, it's people often jump out the chair when I say, oh, they're showing me this, and they go like that. Oh my God.
Like I just did.
Like that. Because they can't believe it. They're like, there's no way that I would know that. So it is. I do enjoy when it happens,
So is there anything that you would like a message that you could give people now you're still luckily with us, that one message that if you could tell someone that they actually listened to, what would that be?
That everybody has the ability to go within and deal with anything that's going on. Everybody, a lot of people say to me, oh, you're so gifted. I'm not gifted. I'm not. I just learn how to access myself, like my inner self. I learned how to do that through being inquisitive.
Open.
Yeah, through, and everybody has the ability to do that. So if you're struggling with something and you really don't know what to do, or you can't get out of a situation, or there's something going on, everybody has the ability to work it out. But and every mind can be changed, like they you know, we I think we're so is brainwashed the right word? Conditioned.
Yeah,
Not
conditioned,
really.
railroaded.
We're so conditioned to going along with what the narrative is of life. We get born, we grow up, we go to college or university, we're made to study hard, to get a job, to pay the bills, to put a roof over our head, to get married and to have children, to
start it all over again.
And I would say, if I could start again, I would say, just follow your heart. You feel that, especially young people these days, it's like everybody thinks that they should be. I think we've become a very materialistic society, and we don't need half the stuff that we have.
Definitely
It's all material. It's all about who's got this and who's got that, and I want this and I want that. And that's not anybody's fault. That's how we've evolved. And social media certainly hasn't helped this situation. But I see a lot of young people that really struggle with their mental health. And I think a lot of it is due to social media, but we get railroaded into doing all these things that maybe it's not really what we were born or created to do.
No, I think that's very true.
Do what you want to do. All this business about how I see a lot of parents that are stressed out about homeschooling at the moment. And, my attitude to homeschooling is, I'm not a teacher, right? I'm not an academic. I never was. A lot of my learning has come with maturity and experience in life, not through reading a book or through getting a qualification or a certificate. My life now is as a result of me following my inner guidance, my inner sat nav. My friend wrote a book actually for children about this. It's called The Navistar. And it's to teach children to use their inner guide to guide them to be and do what they want to be, rather than be railroaded.
What's your friend's name? I need to write that down.
She's called Janie Anderson Temperley, and the book is called The Navistar. And if you Google The Navistar, she's got a website.
Temperley. Well, maybe I can ask her to come on the podcast.
She would love to do that, and she's amazing. She's done a few podcast interviews. She's amazing.
But what a great concept as well, to get children trying to kind of look inside and think what's the right thing to do, or what's my mind or body telling me.
What is my gut instinct telling me? And that comes with safety as well, doesn't it?
Totally.
Not just about what we want to do or what we want to be, but it's about, does this feel safe? Is this a genuine situation that I'm in, or am I being led to believe?
Totally. I mean, I don't, you probably don't know, but we home educate our children, so we're already alternative. Our lives I've always been alternative, but when I got married, I kind of took a bit of a traditional path, and then was traditional until I left him, and then went again, got back on track, and now I had a career in the police. I was in the police for 9 years, and then I planned to stay in for 7 and then go traveling full time, because that was my kind of life's aim, and I needed to get some money behind me. Also wanted to be in the police, to be a decent police officer. Not that police officers aren't decent, but I wanted to be me with all my life experience in the police. And I was that. I was completely, they always used to take the mickey out of me because I wasn't very, don't don't think I was the best police officer. I wasn't really. I was more.
You didn't go along with the normal.
No,
what a police officer is.
definitely not. I sold my house and was intending on going travelling, but then met Benson and had the girls, and so we bought a piece of land, and now we've got the land with the. That's what my business is. I run the women's circles and things on the land, and wild retreats and all that loveliness. So yeah, we're not going down that road at all anymore. Nor are girls. You know, they're sort of completely alternative, not going to school. They're not, you know, it's not about education. It's not about, well, they learn a lot and they can, well, Bonnie, my oldest, can read and, you know, do lots of other lovely stuff, but it is, you know, it is about thinking outside the box and being, you know,
and being self-sufficient and things like, because, you know, we've just become so reliant upon everything being done for us and by a technology or a this or a that, and the basic of skills like cooking and, you know, growing food, for example, and all that. Nobody knows how to do that these days.
No, and they don't know that they will know all the names of all the latest trainers and clothing and that sort of thing. Yet you show them a tree and they don't know what sort of tree it is. You know, that for example. Whereas, you know, nature is, to me, nature is the best teacher, and our children spend a lot of time in nature, and, you know, they've literally been grown up in the grass sort of thing. So okay, so it's wonderful. So a question I ask everybody on my podcasts is, what would you say to your 16-year-old self? I don't know if I put that in your list of questions. So there's a bit of a surprise question there, but it's the one I ask everyone.
Yeah. Oh, follow your dreams. Follow your dreams.
Yeah.
I mean, I was fortunate that I did manage to do that. I did go traveling. When I was about 20, I went on a sort of round the world trip.
Wonderful.
And ended up stayed in Australia for longer than I should have done, but and did a lot of traveling through Asia and all, you know, off the beaten track. In those days, like 20 odd years ago, it was very different to what it is now. But I was really fortunate to do that then. But you know, I'd just say to, you know, do that, you know, travel, experience life, meet as many people as you can, you know, go and enjoy yourself, and also don't get trapped into back to the society, you must do this and you must have this and you must have that. You don't even need a roof over your head, really, do you? You know, no. Really, you see these nomads traveling around and they've got like a van, and, you know, just enjoy life. It's just too short to
it is. That would be my dream for me. Obviously I can't do it at the moment because I've got young children, but you can probably hear in the background. I think it's bedtime and I don't think Bambi wants to go to bed. And, you know, it's I would love to just walk the world with a backpack on the back, you know, literally hitchhike around, or, you know, just really experience the real ground level travel, which we have done some of that, but children just change things. I have done a bit with my children as well, but they do change your experience of travel. But I wouldn't say I wouldn't do any more travel, you know, once lockdown's lifted. We're going to travel more, but you know, it's just a different type of thing. You can't expect, you know, there's always going to be bedtimes and things, isn't there, when you can't go and see the nightlife and stuff, you know.
Yeah, but I think as a 16-year-old now, most of them are worrying about what GCSEs they're going to get, and are they going to get into university, and, you know, and all this sort of
famous.
Oh, you know what, there's so much time. I mean, if you want to study to become something later on in life, you can nowadays. You can go to university when you're 50 if you want. You know?
And also, I think, do you really know what you want to do when you're 16? You know, you need to experience life first, don't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I'm so glad that I didn't really settle down till I was about 26. So by then I'd travelled the world, and I'd lived in various different places, and I'd really I did work, but just to earn money to do all the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah, of course, you've got to fund it, haven't you?
I just did any old job, literally. I did
Yeah.
anything just to earn the pennies, just to go and have a good time. And because once you get, I mean, it's really funny because I was 50 this year, last December just gone. And I thought to myself, you know what? I actually think that I'm going to try and make my next 50 years better than my first 50 years. Age, okay, you might get to 80 or 90 where you feel, oh, you know, I'm getting old now and I can't do as much as I used to do. But it still doesn't mean that you're restricted if you keep yourself fit and healthy. And that's my big goal for this year, is to get I mean, my health has suffered because of the mercury, and that was completely out of my you know, it wasn't something I had any control over.
No, they just put it in us all, don't they?
But nutrition is really important. There's what people don't realise is all this food that they're putting in their bodies is just slowly killing them.
Well, that's why we grow our own veg, is because Benson, my partner, he's so anti anything that's not organic vegetable wise. He's it's nice because I can just rely on him to provide me and my children with fresh organic vegetables, so I can just rest easy on that and concentrate on other things.
That's really wonderful, especially for your kids. And you know, they're gonna grow up and they'll probably live a very different life to what we have done, just the way that you're bringing them up. And I do think that we're in this big awakening at the moment, the great awakening, and things are changing. We're shifting out of that old way of living. We're moving into what we would
normality.
The way of living, and it's going to take a long time, and some people won't be able to go with it because they'll find it too difficult. But I think for the kids who are the younger generation now, the little ones, hopefully they'll benefit from it, and they'll see that it's not
our unnormality will be their normality, won't it? It will be sort of, it will be less freaky and new age to them.
And the whole technology thing, it's great for certain things. We need it. It's been great for business, especially over this lockdown period. But I'd say to any 16-year-old now, get your head out of that phone, get your head out of that game, that electronic device.
Not so much 16-year-olds, more like 28, 29, 30, 31. Everyone. Everyone.
And I think we've lost a lot through technology. And so I'd say to any 16-year-old, turn the phone off and turn the game off.
Turn the phone off and put the telly on.
Go outside and walk on the land and enjoy. You can't. The trouble is when they're teenagers, as we all know, and we were the same. It was you didn't appreciate things like that. But if only you could go back in time, you would, wouldn't you? You'd be.
Oh, I've always been this way, so I've not. I've always been sort of thought outside the box, so I've always known. I mean, I've got friends who haven't got televisions and stuff like that, and I think that would be, that to me, when I'm sitting watching television, which is something that I do, I often think, what could I get done if I wasn't sitting here watching television? But it does serve a purpose. I mean, I'd rather watch a decent program and learn something than I would sit and scroll through social media where you don't learn any. Well, you can learn things, but it's like most of the time you're just looking at what someone's been up to over the weekend, aren't you? Which isn't good.
And also you don't know what's true and what isn't in the news these days anyway. So just.
Exactly. So I think that's all my questions for now. We've talked for a long time. I'd like to talk to you again actually about your travels and things. We could do one just on all your travels. That'd be interesting.
Oh yeah.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you wanted to speak about?
Let me think. Only just that do you put the details if anybody's interested interested in contacting me to.
Yes, yeah, that is one of the things that I normally do, which you've reminded me, which is how, if the listener wants to contact you, how do they contact you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I know Facebook's a bit of a nuisance sometimes, but I'm on Facebook. On Facebook, I'm Alison Jessop Lavelle, but my business page is Ali Jessop Lavelle.
Yeah.
I have a website, which is www.alijessoplavelle.com.
Yeah.
And email alijessoplavelle@gmail.com.
Yeah. Are you on anything on YouTube or Instagram?
I don't tend to use Instagram, to be honest. I am on there, but I don't use it a lot. I haven't got into using that so much. I don't use YouTube really.
No.
One of those things that I keep saying I'm going to do, but I never get round to it. Because
I could see you doing some nice little 10-minute short videos just to kind of get people interested in, little like.
Yeah, I am going to
technique.
I'm going to do some videos. The other thing is I do run a circle on a Monday evening online. I do it over Zoom. It's only £5. We do a little meditation, and then I do either I don't usually do emotional body code because that's a personal thing.
Private thing, yeah.
But I'll do some Reiki, or I'll do some Sanomentology, group Sanomentology session. And then I also do pull a little oracle card or a little tarot card, a little message. Everybody gets a little message. And that's on a Monday evening. And so we're going to do some retreats. So did you say you had land and that? Are you set up for running retreats, are you?
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to send me the details, because like me and Joe, so Joe's a shamanic healer and a sound therapy healer.
Yeah.
We're going to hopefully start doing retreats this year.
Wow.
If we can.
That's obviously the reason I need to speak to you then, isn't it?
Yeah, so we're looking for a venue.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'll definitely because if you go on to because it's called Fenzen, and on Facebook, and you'll see photographs on there of my the last one I did, which was in, I think it was August.
Yeah, okay.
It was amazing. We did wild swimming, we had a cacao ceremony, we did sunrise yoga.
Oh wow,
amazing. And my land looked after us so well. It was everything that needed to happen happened. It was like I'd had actually been there at sunrise before, but not in this particular space where I chose to do the yoga, which is underneath the oak tree. But that morning we all got up at just before sunrise, and we went and set our mat. I'd set all the mats out for everybody. And as we were starting to practice yoga, the sun rose right in front of our eyes. It was amazing. I was just like, thank you, land. The Mother Nature there really looks after us. Okay, Alison, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared with us this evening.
Oh, you're welcome. I've really enjoyed it. It's been really lovely.
It has. It's been so interesting as well. It's been great, sort of learning something that I haven't. Well, I've never heard of it even before this evening. So it's been great to hear about it all, and it's left me with lots of burning questions, and also, like I said, there's another podcast in there somewhere where we can go a bit deeper into it. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, it's been really lovely to get to know you a bit as well, because we have a conversation however long ago, very briefly, but yeah. Hopefully we'll meet in the flesh one day once all this crazy business is over and done with.
That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm going to stop stop recording now, and I'll speak to you after. Thank you so much.
Thank you.